about to bring the magic back. We got Gerry Dinardo on here, so can you hear me?
I can, T-Bubba. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, no, thank you for coming on. All right, so first thing I want to say is how did it feel to, play with Rudy, the movie star?
The movie was kind of in two parts. It was when he first got into Notre Dame when he would be a junior, and then the second part was when he was a senior. So when he played, I had already left. So the backstory, when he was at Holy Cross and he was trying to get in, and then at practice, the way he would practice hard as a junior, I found it very, very accurate. I mean, and I was close to Rudy. I mean, he was one of our closer friends, and he was a walk-on, obviously. And so I know a lot of people have different opinions about the movie, but the part that I lived through was very accurate. I've seen him a few times since then, and I'm very happy for him that this has all worked out.
So where'd you get bringing the magic back from whenever you went to LSU? Like, where'd you get that from? How'd you come up with that?
All right, so when I was a freshman, T-Bubba, we didn't play varsity. We were not eligible until sophomore year. And so the week that Notre Dame played at Tiger Stadium, we were on an away trip. I can't remember where we were as the freshman team. And then when we came back to campus, everybody, all the older guys were talking about what a crazy environment was. So that always stuck with me. And then obviously I got into coaching and I knew what Tiger Stadium was about. And people ask me this all the time, and I've checked my notes because obviously I took notes for the podium when I accepted the job, and I made no reference to it. So it just was something that was spur of the moment. I thought it was appropriate at the time, and the words came out of my mouth. I'm not sure why.
So what do you think about that Florida, the upset? People say it's the number one upset that LSU's ever pulled off.
Yeah, that was a great day. T-Bubba, sports is a funny thing. We had just beat Vanderbilt at Nashville. I think we beat them 7-6. And then we were playing Florida, and then we were playing Ole Miss. And so at my press conference before the Florida game on Monday, I said to the press, Steve Spurrier's biggest decision is going to be which open receiver to throw the ball to, because I was trying to set them up, that they'd be overconfident and all that. And I had to tell my team, I said it in jest. I obviously thought we could beat them. So we had a real good week of preparation. Both Morris Watts, our offensive coordinator, and Carl Reese, the defensive coordinator, did a really good job. Game day was there. And it was just, when you're in those situations and you're in coaching, you're going to have ups and downs in coaching. But as a player, you could, millions of people could play and never win a game like that. So my happiness was really for the players who, when we got there, had not had a winning season. So it was a great game. I have a lot of respect for Steve Spurrier. I thought he was a great play caller, and I thought our defensive guys did a great job slowing him down.
Hey, Coach, this is Mark. I'm in here with T-Bubba. One of the players I always feel like got overlooked in your era with LSU was the one at quarterback, Herb Tyler. I really feel like he was a bigger part of that team than what he really gets credit for. He got lost with the guys that were behind him, I felt like.
He was, and he was, and we, if we just had a good year his last year, he'd have been the winningest quarterback in LSU's history, if I remember right. He wasn't a highly recruited guy. I went into high school and they said, why are you recruiting me? You're not going to let him play quarterback, and you're going to move him to another position. I said that's not true, and we had injuries that gave him an opportunity to play, and he just took over. And he was a great leader. He was a very unselfish guy, and just part of the heart and soul of our team. But I do agree with you. Absolutely, he probably has not gotten enough credit. I absolutely agree with that.
So what made you want to think of bringing back the tradition of like the all-white uniforms at home games?
Well, T-Bubba, it was a great tradition, and I was not a popular pick for that job. Pat Sullivan, who won the Heisman at Auburn, he took the job, and then they got in a fight about the buyout, and so I wound up getting the job under very strange circumstances. And so I made a decision that I was going to be as visible as I could, trying to sell, what we were going to do there and how we were going to do it. And so this white jersey thing came up. I can't remember how it came up, but coincidentally, I was at Vanderbilt as the head coach, and I was on the coaches' rules committee. And so when I got to LSU, I was still on the rules committee. So at a meeting, after I found out how important these white jerseys were at home to the LSU fans, I asked the committee to consider a rule change that would allow the home team to wear white jerseys. And I got some ridiculous comments like, well, that's not a good idea because if you turn the TV on, you always think the white teams are the visitors and all that. I'm saying, really? That's a good reason not to do it? So one thing led to another, and it got passed. I got it out of the coaches committee. Now I had to go to the rules committee. And that was in Amelia Island. And Herb Vincent was our SID. And Jeff Boss, the late Jeff Boss, the great equipment manager. The three of us went to meet with the rules committee, T-Bubba, and we had white LSU jerseys with the names of everybody on the committee. And there were presidents there and chancellors and ADs and everybody else. So we walked in, and Jeff opened up this big box, and he gave every one of the committee members an LSU white jersey with their name on the back of it. We made our presentation, and sure enough, I can't remember how, they didn't tell us right at the meeting. Sure enough, I don't remember how long after, though, we got the white jersey passed. But the stipulation was that the opponents had to agree to it, which is no longer the rule. And so the only one that ever said no to us was Vanderbilt, the team that I had just left coaching. And that's when we went to gold jerseys, and the Bengal Bells, a women's organization that my wife Terry organized, that was the first whiteout in college football, because Terry said to her group, hey, if the players can't wear white, how about if everybody in the stands wear white? Now, Penn State gets credit for the whiteout, but they really weren't the first ones. We were the first ones when we played Vanderbilt.
I feel like LSU should do a whiteout game at least once a year. Don't you think, Mr. Mark?
I think that'd be a good idea. I mean, they still pretty much are following what you set up with those white jerseys. You ever think about those purple pants that y'all wore against, I think it was Kentucky?
Yes, I think about them often. Okay, so one of the players talked me into doing that, and we were in Lexington, and so as you know, we get beat, and somebody said to me, why don't you just get rid of those pants and never wear them again, and this and that. So I felt kind of good. They weren't blaming me. They were blaming the pants for the loss. But anyway, so, we had this gridiron club that I had organized. So I said, I'm gonna tell you what, we're not only going to get rid of them, we're going to sell them. The gridiron club was a fundraiser for us and all that. So we wound up selling those purple pants. I don't know why anybody wanted to buy it, maybe just to make sure we never would wear them again.
Yeah, our one of our high school teams up here is actually, ironically, the Crimson Tide here in Louisiana, of all places.
Oh, my goodness.
But in Minden, but they have light blue and red and white as their primary colors. Well, for a couple of years ago, they picked up a pair of light blue pants, and personally, I hate them. And they're jinxed. I don't think they've ever won a game wearing those pants. And I think I mentioned on our broadcast last year, I said, I put these up there right next to the purple pants at LSU.
Good for you.
So
yeah, that was a mess.
How'd you like Cecil Collins, Rondell Mealy, and Kevin Falk in the same backfield?
Yeah, that was a special backfield. Cecil probably the most talented. Rondell, very talented, could have started at a lot of schools, and Kevin was just a great competitor. Cecil probably had more talent than Kevin. Kevin could catch the ball. He could throw the ball. T-Bubba, he drove me crazy at practice when he was practicing punt returns. He would just take his two hands and catch it up in the air. And I said to Mike Haywood, the coach, his coach, I said, he's not really going to do that in a game, is he? I mean, I'm a nervous wreck watching him in practice. So they were all three really talented, but, you know, you'd be hard-pressed to find someone historically who has contributed more and been more valuable to the LSU brand than Kevin Falk. He's just he came into my office, T-Bubba. He graduated in 3.5 years, and he came in my office when he found out he was going to graduate in 3.5 years, and he said, Coach, I just want you to know, I know this is important to you, because we had changed the whole academic setting of the football team when we got there, and we got an award for it. And he just said, I know this is important to you. I'm graduating in 3.5 years. And that was as important to me as all the touchdowns he scored.
So who was the most memorable out of all of them three?
Kevin. But those other two guys, you know, and Cecil had some problems off the field, you know, which I felt bad for. And, you know, he's rebounded since personally, is from what I could say. You know, Rondell T-Bubba was in a kind of strange spot. You know, it was us or Arizona, as I remember right. Those were his final two choices. But you know, everyone knew Kevin. Everybody knew what a talent Cecil was. You know, but you know, Rondell he never pouted. He never complained. You know, he was just a really good guy. And you know, I think if he wasn't from Louisiana, he'd have probably transferred. But I think, you know, part of his life, he wanted part of his life to be an LSU experience. So
I interviewed Cecil Collins, and he's actually doing pretty good. He was pretty fun to have on the show.
Great. Well, if you talk to him again, you tell him I said hi.
Oh, yeah, I will. All right, so you got a question?
No, you go ahead.
All right, so what has been your favorite game that you've ever coached out of all the places that you coach, LSU, anywhere?
Oh, boy. You know, we were 3-0 in bowl games, and all three of those were special. We beat Clemson. We beat Michigan State when Nick was there, and we beat Notre Dame where I went to school. So those were, you know, of course, we've talked about the Florida game. You know, at Vanderbilt, we beat Georgia a couple times, and we had some success against Ole Miss and different things, but probably the Florida game, or maybe what people call the bring back the magic game, the win, the first win at home in Tiger Stadium, and the earthquake meter went off like it did when they had the previous earthquake game. That was pretty exciting. You know, Jamie Howard had thrown 6 interceptions the year before, if I remember right, and you know, we gave him the game ball after the game, and he had a great game. So I don't know. You know, they're all special. Unfortunately, when you're coaching, you remember the losses more than you remember the wins. And so, but I enjoyed every win we ever had, and never enjoyed any of the losses.
Well, of your time at LSU, obviously you had some big moments, and then, of course, some low moments as well. What are some of the things, whether it be on the field or off the field, that you were most proud of in your accomplishment during your tenure at LSU?
Okay, so back in the day, meaning when I was at LSU, they gave the CFA, the College Football Association, which is no longer around, used to give an academic award, and they gave it to the school that had the best. It was just a football award. They gave it to the football program that had the highest rating graduation rates, and Vanderbilt would win it. I'm sorry, Notre Dame would win it every year. Yeah. And when I was at Vanderbilt, I made it a program goal to win the award, not only to be on the honorable mention. So one year, Notre Dame and Vanderbilt both tied. When I went to LSU, there was an honorable mention where you had to graduate 70%. There were 4 schools in the SEC that never in the history had made the honorable mention, the 70%. It was LSU, it was Arkansas, I think it was Mississippi State. I can't remember the 4 schools. So we made it a program goal that we would get honorable mention. We didn't think we could get 100%. I mean, culturally, we weren't built that way. You know, the private schools had a better chance at that for a lot of different reasons. Yeah. But I sure as heck thought we could be honorable mention and get 70%, and we did it. And so, you know, off the field, and that was probably one of the most important things to me. And in fact, when Mark Emmert fired me and then Nick came in, Mark Emmert made some comment about how they're going to straighten out the academics, and I really took exception to that because Emmert was new to LSU, had no idea what he was talking about, and I took that very personal, and I told him so because he was wrong.
Yeah.
So, how'd you like that Nick Saban beat down against Michigan State at the Independence Bowl?
Yeah, that was a big win. Back-to-back kickoff returns. Eddie Kinnison, he went 100 yards or whatever it was, jumped over the snow fence at the end like he was an antelope. Nick was doing good at Michigan State. Programs were about the same. I had known Nick when he was an assistant for Earl Bruce back at Michigan State, back at Ohio State. So I had a lot of respect for Nick, and I have a lot of respect for him now. I think at the end of the day, whatever you want to say about him, I believe from observing him is that he cares a lot about his players. He might not be great with the press and this and that, but I really believe he does a lot of good things with his drug testing program, with his academics, with his mental health. I think he's ahead of the curve with a lot of things. Of course, he has a lot of money, so Alabama will spend as much as they need to whatever he wants. But not all the coaches would do everything he does for the players. Has been my impression of him.
Well, obviously, things have changed a lot since you were in coaching, especially here at LSU. You got the transfer portal now. You've got this NIL that's all over the place. How do you feel like that would have been a challenge for you guys coaching back in your era?
Mark, I think it's really simple. Those of us that would have adjusted would have survived, and those that fought it and were bitter about it and didn't think it was the right thing, I listened to the Clemson coach, remind me his name, Dabo Sweeney. I can't believe I forgot. Yeah, I can't. All he's done is complain about it.
Yeah.
And but he's making $7 million a year, and I can remember hearing Dabo saying the day they play college football players, I'm getting out of the business. Well, he's still in the business, and they're paying the college football players.
Exactly.
And so, I think the players deserve a piece of the pie. I think they really do. I think all this stuff is good. Is it hard to manage your roster with the portal? Is the NIL maybe not governed the way? I mean, there's all kinds of problems. But the one problem is that the people that are playing the game, if it is going to be a billion-dollar business. I tell this story all the time, Mark. Bo Schembechler left Miami of Ohio to go to Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
His wife Millie said, "Bo, what are they going to pay you?" He said, "I didn't ask. Multiply my first check by 12." Ara Parsegian, who I played for, wasn't allowed to make more money than the highest paid professor at Notre Dame on campus.
Oh, wow.
And so we were all grateful to have a scholarship and on and on and on. But then when coaches are being paid $7 million a year and things haven't changed all that much financially for the players, there's something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And what really irritates me is when people they take it out on the players, like they're selfish or, you can't coach them hard anymore. That's all nonsense. That's all. I go to all 14 camps in August in the Big Ten, and I go to places like Iowa. And I mean this complimentary. Things haven't changed that much there. There's still a lot of guys that parents couldn't afford their education, and now it's getting paid for. They're not going to play professional football, but they're going to get the degree. And then, of course, there's the people that deserve the NIL. Kevin Falk's running up and down the LSU field, and there's 50,000 jerseys with his name on it in the stands.
Yeah.
I mean, now if he didn't go to LSU, there wouldn't be 50,000. So I understand LSU should make some money on his jersey or the apparel company, but so should Kevin Falk.
Exactly. I've always been that way too. I remember going to a LSU game. This has been almost 20 years ago, and I think Skylar Green was at LSU at that time. It was, I guess, right at the end of Nick's era at LSU, and I saw those number 5 jerseys everywhere, and I said, you know what? The sad thing is that kid's not seeing a dime of that.
Right. So, adjust and, like Dabble's comment, like it's the player's fault. Really? It's the player's fault that they're getting paid. And anyway, so I won't go on one of my tangents. I apologize.
Oh, no, you're good. We asked for your opinion. I think you gave it to us. I don't think you weren't unclear for sure. Well, I was on the fence with the transfer portal, and then when I saw what the new coach at LSU, Brian Kelly, did just in 1 year, pretty much working the portal, I was like, wow, if you really get out there and work it, you can use it to your advantage as a coach as well. I mean, the players can use it to their advantage to get into a better situation for them, but the coaches can do it as well. And I'm it can be hair pulling out at the same time, but I guess it's a good thing for both sides, I guess you could say.
Okay, Mark and T-Bubba, I'm going to tell you something I don't think either one of you guys know. Now, maybe you do. When the transfer portal and the transfer without penalty was passed 2 years ago, it only impacted 5 sports. Did you know that?
I did not.
I didn't.
Okay, now here's the 5. You ready? Football, men's and women's basketball, hockey, and baseball. Mm-hmm. You know why it only impacted 5?
Why's that?
Because it was always in place for all the other sports.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did not know that.
But so that's why it was for those 5. Maybe because they make the money.
Yeah.
Maybe because those coaches want to manage their rosters, so they have a third team right guard instead of 2 right.
Yeah.
2. I mean, this rule. So a football player sitting in class next to him is a men's lacrosse player. And the men's lacrosse player says to the men's football player, "Hey, I'm transferring." And the football player says, "Really? You're going to sit out a year and then play? Why are you leaving?" "No, I don't have to sit out a year." This has been going on for generations.
Wow.
It's only been those
crazy.
5 sports.
That is very interesting. I wasn't aware of that. I just assumed that was a rule that just was a unilateral deal. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Very, very eye-opening there. Thanks, Coach.
Yeah.
All right, Coach Dinardo, thank you so much for coming on today, and I just appreciate it so much for coming on and taking your time with us.
Well, T-Bubba, I've never met you, but my wife and I, in fact, we're at the airport now getting ready to pick some family members up, and I was telling her about our interview today, and I said, this is a 12-year-old guy doing the radio show and all that, and we have to tell you, we're very, very impressed that you're doing this, and so we wish you the best of luck in the future. Stay at it, and if it's not radio, it'll be something else, because if you're going to start this young, being this organized and this motivated, whatever you wind up doing, you'll do a great job.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, T-Bubba. All right, Mark.
All right,
See
nice
you
to
guys.
meet you, sir. Thanks.
All right, bye-bye.